Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ada East District Coordinating Council in Greater Accra region to ban all social gatherings following an upsurge in cholera cases in the area. We'll bring you all the details. Also coming up, planned revocation of LI 2462, which allows mining in forest reserves now in limbo following indefinite adjournment of Parliament. Other implications for the anti-Galamsey fight? We'll tell you more. And much later on the program, National Labour Commission summons leadership of striking Public Services Workers Union to a meeting later this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's start from Parliament because the government pledge to revoke the legislative instrument LI 2462 is now in limbo following the indefinite adjournment of Parliament by the Speaker, Alban Bagbin. The controversial LI passed in 2022 permits mining in forest reserves, previously designated as a no-go area for such activities. Since the passage, almost all forest reserves in the country have come under assault from various mining groups, including illegal miners, sparking an uproar. The government agreed to revoke the law after agitations and threats of strike by organised labour and other groupings. The revocation bill was among the items expected to be considered this session before the House rises for the December 7 general election. Other important bills include the free SHS bill, but with the current happenings in the House, which have seen the House adjourned, the bill leaves the bill in limbo, and we'll take you through the process an LI has to go through before a revocation. First, pursuant to Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution, new LI has to be laid before Parliament. Published in the Gazette on the day it is laid before Parliament. Also comes into force after 21 sitting days of Parliament after it has been laid. Now, under Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution, Parliament cannot revise or amend a new LI, but Parliament has the power to annul it by a vote of 2/3 of all MPs before the expiration of the 21-day sitting. Let's bring in Aula Sewa. She's founder and coordinator Eco-Conscious Citizens Ghana. Good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
How concerning is this to you? It seems your efforts are going down the drain with Parliament now on indefinite adjournment.
You see, I wouldn't say that it has gone down the drain. Let's be absolutely clear. This whole LI could have been dealt with not just by waiting for 21 days. We could have done it under a certificate of urgency. So I'm not quite sure that Parliament being suspended is what's causing the problem. The problem is that was there ever the political will to get rid of LI 2462? If there was, there's a school of thought that says that it should have been sufficient for the minister who brought it in the first place, that's the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, to make a statement in Parliament to the effect that the law is being revoked. And that would have been sufficient. But what we can see is that I'm not even sure if it's been properly laid before Parliament. But if that was the case and there's no certificate of urgency, then it should have been 21 sitting days. Mind you, Parliament sits Tuesdays to Friday. So you can do the maths and find out if there would have been sufficient days before Parliament went on adjournment on the 1st of November, I believe.
So what you're essentially saying is that we cannot say that this LI is the victim of the shenanigans in Parliament.
Exactly.
The MPs were not committed to dealing with it.
I'm even disputing if there was ever any commitment to get rid of LI 2460. And if we want to do so, we've asked that there should be a state of emergency. As we stand right now, there's no state of emergency. We have criminal enterprise in the forest reserves on our water bodies. Recently, we know that our journalist, Erastus Donko, was attacked, he and his team. How can that happen? They were attacked by armed personnel. And right now, apart from the existential threat we face, we also face national security concerns. If we don't nip all this in the bud, we'll have the situation we had in Mexico and other Latin American countries where the drug cartels control parts of the country. It didn't start overnight. We've had the advantage of seeing what has happened in Mexico and saying that we don't want it to happen in Ghana. But if we just sit down, allow criminal gangs to take over our forest reserves, water bodies, and then we can't deal with them, the more wealth they have, the more arms they buy, what do we think is going to happen? So let's be clear. I don't think that the revocation of LI 2462 is any way affected by the suspension of Parliament. I'm even disputing that there was ever a sincere desire to revoke it.
There was ever a sincere desire to revoke it. But in the meantime, though, what do you think you have in terms of choice to ensuring that what you need to be, what you expect to be done is done?
What I'm saying is that we are calling on organized labor. We are calling on organized labor to resume its strike or resume the threat of strike, to get the government to sit up, to pass a state of emergency. We urgently need a state of emergency so that we can go to our forest reserves and our water bodies and flush out all the criminals there, destroying our forest reserves and poisoning our water bodies. Then we need to start the reclamation, which will take a long time, using the polluter pays principle, so that anybody involved in polluting our water bodies will be held accountable. And when they are prosecuted and found guilty, any monies that can be retrieved from the sale of their assets will be used towards reclaiming our environment. And then we also need to stop issuing mining licenses. We should stop issuing mining licenses and revoke all those that have been issued to mine in forest reserves and to mine in forest reserves, because nobody will ever have a license to mine on our water bodies. And then all those who were named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report should be investigated, and if the facts so show, should be prosecuted. I think things we can do. But it all has to start with a state of emergency.
A state of emergency. Let me just ask you briefly before you go. You're asking organized labor to resume the strike it called off. I know you're part of organized labor, but have you had conversations around this?
No, I'm not part of organized labor. It's the trade unions and things. But we're supporting what was being done, because mind you, the CSOs have been leading this fight to protect our environment. We went on a picket last year against LI 2462 and EI 144, which declassified parts of Achimota Forest Reserve. But it was when organized labor took up the fight that we had a lot of traction that we hadn't had before. So what we are saying is that, why did organized labor suspend the strike? What were the gains that made it suspend the strike? There were none. What is happening is that things have gone from worse to even worse. That right now we have the attacks on our journalists. Although this happened about 2 years ago, I believe, in one of the forests, Joy News' team was attacked. But what I'm saying is that things are getting worse. So why would you call off the strike? I really wouldn't understand that. And we thank UTAG for being the conscience of the people and continuing the strike. But we really need organized labor to join the efforts to put pressure on our government to protect us, because we are being poisoned.
Thank you very much.
Our food chain has also been affected. And we want all persons aspiring to political office to sign up to the demand. So that it doesn't matter who wins the 7th December elections, it will be the same result.
Thank you very much, Awula Sewa.
Thank you for having me.
And Awula Sewa is the coordinator for Eco-Conscious Citizens Ghana. We remain in Parliament, and which is actually in the eye of the storm over the cross-carpeting saga and the subsequent legal issues, because a former Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice William Atuguba, says the Supreme Court's jurisdiction was wrongly invoked in the matter of Alexander Apenyomarking versus the Speaker and the Attorney General regarding the Speaker's decision to declare some 4 seats vacant. And the former Justice of the Supreme Court spoke exclusively with Alfred Okanse.
Yeah, so to that extent, invoking the Supreme Court over this matter is wrong. They don't have original jurisdiction. You see, original jurisdiction means invoking the court at first instance. That's original. But they have referred jurisdiction in the sense that from even this matter, because if a constitutional provision comes up, which is not plain and straightforward, requiring interpretation, Article 130, which gives the interpretative power and the enforcement power to the exclusive to the Supreme Court, says that if a question relating to those issues arises in the court lower than the Supreme Court, the lower court shall stay the proceedings and refer the matter to the Supreme Court.
And you heard Justice William Atuguba. He's a former Justice of the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, the Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, has filed his statement as the second defendant in the Supreme Court case brought by Majority Leader Alexander Apenyo Marking. The case challenges the Speaker of Parliament's decision to oust 4 members of the House who declared their intent to run as independent candidates ahead of the December 7 elections. In his statement filed on October 21, 2024, Mr. Dame argued that the Constitution does not mandate the vacation of a seat by an MP who files to contest a future election as an independent candidate or under a different party ticket. Some 12 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll bring you some other political issues on the front burner. Don't go away.
Big money, money, money. Want more money, more moolah, more kudi, more sika, or more l'argent?
Yes.
Then win more moolah with 30 Ghana Cedis free credit when you play Game Park's Pick 1 and Pick 4 games for the first time.
How?
Just dial *946# or visit the nearest Game Park agent to play, get your first bet, and win on us with a 30 Ghana Cedi welcome bonus.
Oh, yes. It's all about the moolah.
Win more moolah with Game Park today. Go to GameParkGames.com for more information. Game Park is licensed by the NLA. Play responsibly. Not suitable for persons under 18 years.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Thank you for staying. And let me bring you some more on that controversial declaration of a 4-seat vacant and all the conversations that we've been having on it. But this time around, let's pay attention to the political parties, because their constitutions either have strict rules against cross-carpeting or the parties have enforced disciplinary proceedings against such MPs. Let's take a look at the constitution of the 2 main political parties. And for the MPP, for instance, it says under the title for future of membership, a member of the party who stands as an independent candidate against the officially elected member of the party, or who joins or declares his or her support for another political party or for an independent candidate when the party has sponsored a candidate in a general or by-election, automatically forfeit his or her membership of the party. For the NDC constitution, it says does not have such a provision, but members are required to be loyal to the party. The party exercises disciplinary control over members. Also, NDC in the build-up to the 2020 elections sacked 18 members for filing nominations to contest as independent candidates. And let's bring in political analyst and lecturer, Dr. Samuel Free. He joins us live on the phone. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon, Beatrice.
Let me first find out from you what you make of how the political parties have so far handled this 4-seat vacancy matter.
Thank you, and once again, greetings to your listeners as well. It's unfortunate that this provision in these political parties trying to curtail some members going for independence. It's like a Kokwanansi story, where initially when they were benefiting, there was no squabbles about that. And now, being the victim that is affecting their control in Parliament is making it a little bit difficult for them to accept.
So essentially,
I believe that, yes, hello.
Please go ahead with your point.
Yes, I believe that if they try, and now being a victim and knowing how the consequences is affecting them, maybe they will rethink about it as a party. And seriously, I think that the party will look at it very well, and also the individual members within the party. Because now people can, the way they handle issues within parties, sometimes some of the reason being that some of them see themselves not being treated well. And these are the things that result for them to go into these, to be independent.
So what you are basically saying is that the political parties, as we have it now, are playing politics with the provisions in their own constitutions, because in the past we've seen them take disciplinary actions against people who, quote unquote, betrayed the party.
Yes, that's why I said earlier that it's like a Kokwananse story. You know, sometimes Kokwananse always tends to always think that he's always smart. You know, when you check about the stories of Kokwananse is always smart, always think to benefit from every situation. But that is not how it is. And that is why I describe the situation now as Kokwananse story.
Do you foresee this court case affecting the parties in a way going forward?
Yes, exactly. Whatever way that the court rules, it will affect the party. And I think that will make them to make some changes to come for their conferences that they will organize in future.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much. And that was political analyst and lecturer Dr. Samuel Afriye. Let's bring you some health issues. And the Ada East District Coordinating Council in the Greater Accra region is set to place a ban on all social gatherings following the upsurge in cholera cases in the area. The serving of foods and drinks at funerals have already been banned by authorities in Ada West. The decision by the two districts follows the upsurge of the disease in several communities in the districts. The disease outbreak was first announced by the Ghana Health Service on October 11. My colleague on the health desk, Sarah Apinko, visited the two districts with special focus on one of the mostly hit communities, Azizanya, and reports the situation looks far from being over. Sarah returned a while ago, joins us live in the studio now. Sarah, I just mentioned one of the communities there, Azizanya, but tell us really how dire the situation is and where else you've been to.
So, rightly said, Beatrice, the outbreak is between the Ada West District and East District, mostly in the East District. And Azizanya happened to be one of the mostly hit communities. And we are looking at close to 2,500 residents, and it's a coastal area. So they are only...
Out of the 2,500 residents, how many have been affected or contracted the disease?
So far, from what I gathered from the opinion leaders within the community, as at last week, there are about 70 people on admission at the hospital, and out of the 70, 40 were from the community.
That's huge.
That was even as of last week. So yesterday, we are not able to get the official numbers, but the unfortunate incident that also happened was on Monday in the same area, but in this particular community, Pute, it's called Pute, also a coastal community where a whole school has been closed down because some number of students, I heard about 9 students got infected in the food that was served by the caterer to the students, and an ambulance had to come and take them to the facility. So it looks quite dire, a very difficult situation out there, and the fundamental issue is that they do not have toilet facility.
In the entire community?
The entire community does not have a toilet facility. And the only one that construction started about 11 years ago had been stalled. So they do open defecation all over the place, and it goes into the same water body they use to bath, drink, do their fishing activity, and so they are eating their fecal matter. And so the outbreak of cholera is obviously not something we can run away from around this time in the community. I spoke to the DCE for Ada East, and he told me as of last week they had already banned the sharing of food and drinks at funerals. within the Adan West district, because the first case they had come from somebody who went for funeral, brought the food home, ate, and got infected. And so that is what they are doing. And when it comes to water, the assemblies are sending poly tanks into the communities at least twice in the week to supply water into a poly tank at the community center where the people will go and fetch so that they can have access to some clean water for their cooking and also for drinking purposes.
The RCC brought reps from the RCC, and then we had the meeting. At the meeting, we put a lot of structures in place. We decided at the first time place to do communal labor at all the communities, especially at the coastal belt. Talk about Wokumakbe, Aklabanya, Anyamam, Goi, and then Lolonya. After the communal labor, each and every household is supposed to go by the Operation Clean Your Frontage system. We have also decided that the funerals within our district should go by the 1 meter distance system where you don't come close to each other. And also at the funerals, they are not supposed to share food and then drinks. We are also using the hand sanitizers and the Veronica buckets at all funerals and then at all churches. We have realized that water is not flowing within some of the communities where this problem started. And so therefore we have agreed that we are using water tankers, and we have placed poly tanks. We are sure that by the time tankers will not be able to go again, community water will finish with their extension, and therefore water should be flowing into those communities.
So we just had rather Samson Tete, who is the DC for the Adan West area. Sarah, you just introduced, but really, I know some other officials have also been speaking about this. What can you tell us?
Yes, I spoke to the NCCE. You know, they are supposed to do the sensitization education within the community so the people understand what is happening. And they are.
But sensitization, if they don't have toilet facilities, how far can it go? Because they will still.
The issue even is that the NCCE is also not resourced. They do not even have a car to go around. So for this particular emergency moment, region has given them one car which will serve both two districts to go around. And so the Adan East Assembly has also given one car to the NCCE. And the director I spoke to yesterday, Madam Bleucy, tells me that they go into the community, tell the people the essence of keeping it. It's a difficult situation because it's their lifestyle. For years, that's how they live. They haven't seen this. So it's difficult when you are trying to tell people to change from their way of life when you do not have any alternatives for them to use. But what they can do as NCCE is just to tell them the dangers of cholera when you get it. So at least try to boil the water when you pick it from the river, and then it could make some remedies for you. I spoke to the people, to some of the residents, and it appears almost every household within the community have had a relative infected with cholera.
Most of the villagers are attacked by this cholera. Some people, they will go to the clinic and come back, and suddenly it will, like they'll be vomiting again, and they will take them back again. Because we have been using, some of the villagers have been going to the bush, and some also have been going to the seaside. We don't have a toilet here that we have been using. So I think they have to share some of the toiletries for us so that we'll be using. And the water too, we need it the most because the river water is not safe for us again.
We need a toilet facility because we don't have toilet facility in Zion here. So that's the only thing we can do.
As I'm telling that's going to be biku. Doka ya kliniko wa iligite lokojiwaba.
And you heard some of the residents from the Adan community, those whose families and some of them as well infected with cholera. Now, a memorial service has been held for one of the victims of the East Legon Gately accident, and George Quaney was there. He joins us live in the studio. George, another sad incident coming through. What can you tell us?
Beatrice, and it actually took guts to be a part of this very memorial service. If you are an emotional person, I doubt you can even endure maybe 10 minutes of the service. It was a solemn one, And I recall a journalist wanted to interview a relative, and he didn't even finish with his question. And the relative was very angry. Why would you say it's an accident? This was a stubborn boy, you know that thing. So this is a family that is grieving and a family that is in pain. And so for me, I pray that they get that very comfort. And sympathizers, families and friends were there. And even some of her classmates could not even finish reading their tributes. They were all crying. They had to, recompose themselves. And then,
I mean, if you're watching us on Facebook, we're showing you the individuals who are crying. Really huge crowd there at that funeral ground.
And John Dumelo was there. He is contesting the Ayawaso West Walk-on where the incident happened. And for him, this is not the first time there's been an incident there. And for him, he says there's no speed ramp on that very stretch. And so he had called on the Roads and Highways Authority to work on that, and also called for swift justice for the families.
It's an unfortunate incident. I sympathize with the family. We're all parents. We know how some of these things feel, and I really sympathize with the family, and I just hope and pray that no other family goes through something like this ever again.
Okay, so what do you think it actually opens up a debate on good parenting, one way or the other?
Well, yes, it does. Every parent, of course, when you're growing up, your kids can go wayward one way or the other, but it's your duty and responsibility to keep a leash on them. Some people say, if you be a mensa woman or all that. Yes, mensa woman, but you have to keep a leash on your kids. You have to discipline them when they are wrong. You have to make sure that you don't give them you don't surround them with certain accoutrements or certain elements that would propel them to act, if I may put it in a better word, the other way. So I think it's incumbent on the parents to make sure that the children are disciplined.
Okay, so that very area where the accident happened, I'm told it's actually not the first time. And so, I don't know, what do you think can be done about that? Because it's actually becoming like a place where you're asking questions.
Yeah. I think for somebody who is contesting in Ayawaso West Walk-on and driving through East Legon, to be honest with you, most of the roads have speed ramps, and I think that is the only road that doesn't have any speed ramp.
And you heard that John Dumelo, he is an actor and also the parliamentary candidate for Ayawaso Walk-on with the opposition NDC earlier. You heard George Quainin coming from that memorial service for one of the victims in that accident. Now, the National Labour Commission will later today meet with the leadership of striking Public Services Workers Union. The union is embarking on an indefinite strike over the government refusal to pay their respective institution-specific allowances of members. The workers maintain that the denial of the allowance is financially constraining them. The striking institutions, which include the Electoral Commission, National Commission for Civic Education, the Ghana Meteorological Services Department, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Ghana News Agency and Ghana Revenue Authority have already laid down their twos. Now, the others are Ghana Standard Authority, Ghana Aid Commission, Ghana Airports Company, Audit Service of Ghana, among others. And we'll bring you more as and when we have it. And that's it for the news here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM. Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
3FM.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation. This is not just another show, It's your voice on the move.
Join us as 3FM Sunrise hits the road, turning ordinary streets into platforms for extraordinary dialogue. Speak freely, listen deeply, and help shape the conversation that drives Ghana forward.
Look out for the bus and tune in exclusively on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported.
All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, International Monetary Fund projects 3% growth for Ghana in 2024, but signals positive revisions as World Bank forecasts higher growth. Also, Association of Ghana Industries says macroeconomic policies have put immense pressure on manufacturers, leading many into debt and hindering their ability to list on the stock market.
The cost that run through by virtue of a multiplicity of tax is also eating into your profit. So no matter what businesses you do, you ask yourself, how do I pay an interest rate over 35+%, which is one of the most highest within the sub-region.
Meanwhile, expert calls for deliberate initiatives such as tax incentives and reduced utility tariffs to attract investors and stimulate profitability in the manufacturing sector.
If more attention is concentrated in terms of government taxes, provision of utilities, and support to the industry, I'm sure that investors' confidence will grow in the industries.
My name is Manu. Afful will bring you details of our headlines and many other stories shortly. Please stay. Now, in our first story, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has projected Ghana's economic growth rate to reach 3% by the end of 2024, according to its latest World Economic Outlook report released during the IMF World Bank meetings in Washington, D.C. The forecast aligns with the government's 2024 budget projection of 3.1%. However, IMF officials hinted at possible revisions to these figures due to recent economic developments, while the World Bank anticipates a stronger growth performance.
The IMF's World Economic Outlook report projects Ghana to end 2024 with a 3% growth rate, aligning with the government's 3.1% forecast. This follows discussions during the IMF World Bank meetings in Washington, D.C. Despite this projection, senior IMF officials have indicated the possibility of upward revisions, citing optimism that the country may surpass this estimate by year-end. The World Bank, in its Africa Pulse report, raised its growth forecast for Ghana from 3.1% to 4% attributing the revision to increased economic activity in the last 2 quarters of the year. On inflation, the IMF projected Ghana's year-end rate to be 19.5%, significantly higher than that of the Bank of Ghana's target range of 13 to 17%. As global and domestic economic factors evolve, these projections are subject to further updates before the year ends.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, President of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake, attributes the challenges faced by manufacturers to the country's macroeconomic policies, which he believes have pushed many into debt, complicating their ability to list on the stock market. His comments follow the Ghana Stock Exchange Equity Market Report, which shows a remarkable 230% increase in the value of shares traded by the third quarter of 2024, primarily driven by the service sector, with manufacturing recording only 0.15%.
In the manufacturing sector, there's a lot of overgearing of enterprises that tells you that their debt position or their various loans, you see a lot of non-performing loans already play in there, and I demonstrated it from the cost push factor. By virtue of the cost push factor, you are even limited in your capital formation. Your capital formation is weak because every 2 weeks the exchange rate is eating part of your profit. And the cost that run through by virtue of a multiplicity of tax is also eating into your profit. So no matter what businesses you do, you ask yourself, how do I pay an interest rate over 35+%, which is one of the most highest within the sub-region. So that is why you see the effect on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And the myth also of the illiquidity of the stock exchange is another matter. But there are general economic difficulties for manufacturing.
That was President of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake, stressing the negative impact of economic policies on the manufacturing sector. Meanwhile, a senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. Beatrice Adu, is advocating for targeted policies to enhance industrial growth and profitability in Ghana. He emphasized that government supports, such as tax incentives and reduced utility tariffs for the manufacturing sector, could make these industries more profitable and attractive to investors.
It's a welcome news that shows investors' confidence is growing on the market, but the skewness towards the service sector require policy that to boost investors' confidence in the manufacturing and the service sector, so that we can receive an overall or a 360-degree growth on the Ghana market, and which will trickle down to the overall economic development in the Ghanaian economy. So we will urge government to pay particular attention to the growth in the industry. Yes, the data also point from the GNSS shows that the industry sector is beginning to pick up if more attention is concentrated in terms of government taxes, in terms of government provision of utilities and support to the industry. I'm sure that investors' confidence will grow in the industries, and they will be prepared to invest more, just as we are seeing in the service sector.
You heard a senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. Beatrice Adu there. Moving on, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority says it is committed to supporting innovation in the coconut sector by providing platforms for capacity building, research, and technological advancements. In her keynote address at the 2024 Ghana Coconut Festival in Accra, Chief Executive of Safohima, Dr. Afful Asari I, stressed the move aims to ensure that Ghanaian coconut products remain competitive and sustainable globally.
The coconut industry has the potential to create thousands of sustainable jobs. Against this backdrop, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority has distributed over 1 million seedlings covering over 15,000 acres. This has generated about 350,000 employment opportunities, particularly for women and youth within the cocoa value chain.
The future of the coconut industry lies in sustainability. We must ensure that the growth of the industry benefits everyone, from the farmers cultivating the crops to the consumers who enjoy the final products. Promoting environmentally friendly practices, ethical sourcing, and fair trade will ensure the long-term success of the industry while protecting our own environment and enhancing the livelihoods of all of us who are involved.
Patrick Ndabia stressed the economic contribution of the cocoa industry.
The contribution of the coconut industry to the development of many economies has proven to be an indispensable tool towards poverty reduction effort. The utilization and alternative use of coconut have received the highest acceptance and recognition all over the world, and is nicknamed a tree of life.
That was a report on GEVA pledging support for coconut sector innovation. Well, that will be all for Business Daily this afternoon on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Manu. Afful. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.